All right. Good afternoon, GrobbMob. I'm Bunny, also known as Thalnor Vending Machine, probably the annoying paladin or mage that's been killing y'all or stealing your herbs and mining goods. But today, I'm joined here with Multiboxer,
Hey, hey.
Pick Your Poisons,
How's it going?
and the good old Tristian.
Hello again.
So, Wrath of the Lich King launched. Was it a disaster for anyone?
I think it depends on what you mean by disaster.
Probably waited like 5, 6 hours. We all seen Reddit blowing up on it, especially the Grobulus page. 5 hour queue. God, bought this game now. Have to pay and wait.
Yeah, I mean, I think from that end completely, it was absolutely a disaster. I mean, it was brutal for everybody to log in.
I totally agree. I just feel like 20 like the company's been open for like 15, 20 years, like with the World of Warcraft series, but making servers like not making servers big enough or not fixing the problem is just kind of weird. But other than that,
It's definitely a little odd.
for real. So, Multiboxer, tell us a little tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey guys. Yeah, I'm a new person on the server. I came to the server like 5 or 6 weeks ago, not by transfer. I started my character new because I'm a German guy, but I live now in the north of Mexico, so I play on the Americas server. So I started here. I chose Scrobulus. I chose Scrobulus because it was a balanced server. It was a big server. It was a world PvP server. So for me, it was a pretty easy choice. I play Rogue. I like PvP. I want to be on a big server and not having maybe the problem that in 4 weeks, 3 months, or whatever, when the hype is settled down, that maybe you get problems finding groups, finding raids, or whatever you want to do in the game. That's what I'm here. I have a small YouTube channel. I got invited by B Bunny for the podcast today. That's why I'm showing you up. I had a pretty good start in the RAF for me. Thanks God I'm working from home office, so far for me the queues were no problem. I could log in and when I wanted, so it was not a big deal. But definitely I can understand when people have, yeah, not a cool time when they have 3, 4, 5, 6 hours in the queue. I mean, nobody would like that, I guess.
For real. Pick your poisons.
Hey, I'm Biggie Poisons. A lot of people call me by Venera. I am the guild master of the Alliance Guild called Caustic. Um, we transferred over here, I think first month of TBC. We transferred from a small auxiliary server that was released when they released Vanilla Classic called Curranax. And yeah, I mean, we came to Grobulus beginning of TBC, and it was one of the best decisions we made. It was really between here or Benediction, and I just could not even imagine being on Benediction. I mean, we came from a majority Horde server, so a lot of my members really like PvP, makes the world feel a lot more alive. And so when it really came down to it, Grobulus or Benediction, we went to Grobulus, and yeah, it's been great.
I
Um,
definitely agree on the PvP scene. It's pumping in Grobulus.
we were really happy, honestly, to see when a lot of the Fairbanks horde came over here, because it was getting a little bit into like a dangerous territory for a while there, because there were a lot of alliance that were coming over to the server, and I totally understand why. A lot of us really liked PvP, but also didn't want to go to a server where we were completely outmatched. But it was definitely tipping more alliance side there for a little while. But yeah, having kind of that injection of the horde definitely made things feel a lot more interesting. Especially Wrath versus TBC. I feel like there's a lot more fighting going on in the open world than there kind of was towards the later half of TBC. So it has been fun being over on the server, and all of I guess Grobulus server identity has been really interesting for us coming from Curadax, which is a very very small server. I think it was by the end only a couple thousand players. But I don't know. To the stance of how was the release, like Wrath, the server queue sucked. I don't think there's any way around it. But I will say that like the hype and just sort of feeling that atmosphere was super super interesting. And I was glad that I was on for that and got to witness it for myself.
So,
But
since your alliance, have you encountered an infamous druid named Boople?
I have not actually. Why?
Boople, I have to give props to Boople. If you're in the chat right now, I give you props. This is the most dedicated hardcore role player I've ever seen in all of Grobulus. If you
Can confirm.
he sits on a
Is-
mailbox all day, and I don't know.
Is he the guy that was doing the Tarns all over the place? That were like on the fountains and like in Ironforge, like their dead bodies.
Honestly, I haven't heard about that. That's pretty funny.
You didn't see that? Oh, that was like a big thing. I saw like a bunch of Reddit posts about that. Someone was making Taurens and giving them little sprinklers, and they would have them die in random locations, like on the mailboxes, near the auctionators, near the like the Ironforge bridge, the Stormwind Fountain, like all over the place. It was actually really funny. But I don't know if anyone ever figured out who it was that was doing that.
Probably like a random guild, just like, hey, it'd be funny if we just made Torns and just like killed ourselves in Ironforge.
Oh,
I don't know.
Hey, Bunny, real quick. I've got a couple people messaging me saying that your microphone through the stream is coming in really quiet.
It's coming in real. Here, I can fix that. There we go. I think that's a lot better. Hold up.
I'll tell you in a minute. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to catch that so that people were able to at least
No,
hear.
you're good. Hopefully it's better. But no, Boople is like this hardcore role player that talks in like baby talk or like the uwu speech.
Oh,
I actually know.
I have not encountered them.
And for our final introduction, Tristian.
Hello again. I have been a long member of Grobulus. I am the guild leader of Bulwark. Title is Pole March. We tend to do a lot of the roleplay and world PvP on the server. Oh, yeah, your mic sounds much better. But yeah, I wanted to say welcome to you guys that have recently come over to the server, both you two and everybody else that may be listening. And yes, Boople is kind of an icon of Grobulus. I was actually one of the few that has been enlightened to their story, where Boople, and throughout their druidic training, actually tried to turn into a rabbit, or a bunny. And apparently it was a forbidden form in their druidic practices. But Boople went ahead and tried, but ended up losing the ability to speak normally and now speaks the way they do because of their rabbit transformation.
Ah, okay.
I see he's a huge fan.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
I have learned so much about Boople because a few weeks before Wrath actually launched, the entirety of Hordeside, we hosted a Roleplay 101 course, which I have recorded and set aside if you guys would be interested in seeing that, of just the basics of getting into roleplay as well as character creation. So,
yeah, I mean, I would definitely be interested in that. It's
Perfect.
not something I have any experience with, but it's honestly something I've always been very curious about.
It definitely adds a flair to the game. Like I have, with my guild being a roleplay centric guild, I have talked with a couple of our members that have they've never played roleplay servers before, strictly PvP or PvE servers, and a couple of now say that they couldn't play the game if there wasn't the roleplay flair to it, because it just adds such a different flavor to the game. But for
Yeah,
Wrath,
I would
it's
agree with
been
that.
for Wrath, it's been for me personally, it's been it's an interesting challenge because I am West Coast living, but I also work 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or later, depending on how my work schedule is. So when I'm trying to get on for the game time, I'm usually logging on about 7 o'clock p.m. prime time when there's already a 2 to potentially 3 hour queue. So some days I just don't even get to play. Like right now, I am working on Trissian, my primary character, who is only level 73. As a first character to even get through all of this, so it's been a bit of a challenge to get through the playtimes.
Mhm.
That is true. Yeah, I've officially moved on to the boomer move where, or I guess min-maxing, where you buy a secondary computer, take it to work with you between your breaks while you're eating, and then you get to play and stuff like that. My coworker's
I
like,
love
"What are you
it.
doing?" I'm like, "Min-maxing. Ever heard about it?" All
I think a
right.
lot of what we're doing is having people just remote desktop in, which you can argue the semantics with it, but like, is that morally correct because you're not really playing, but you're taking up a spot from someone that could play?
That's true.
You can I don't know, you can feel any way about it, but it's unfortunate that that's what we're having to resort to in order for people to actually, play the game that they're paying a subscription for.
I've been seeing a lot of people on TikTok, unrelated topic, but I've seen a lot of people on TikTok, and it's just like random World of Warcraft videos. They'll like tape a DeWalt drill at the lowest setting and just like hit the like spacebar over and over just to be kept logging. I'm just like, that kind of irritates me because that's just one
Yeah.
spot that.
So something actually interesting about that. I don't know if people have ever experienced this where you get randomly DC'd for no reason.
Mm,
So that's I can't say 100% if this is true or not, but I have heard that this is part of their kind of system checks to make sure that you're actually there. So they will just randomly blip you off, and if you don't, log back in within sort of the grace period, then boom, you're out.
that makes sense.
So it doesn't really matter if you're actually sitting there, just kind of like, moving around every once in a while, like pressing your keys a little bit, it'll just blip you off anyways.
I have a lot of playtime at the moment because, like I said, I'm usually logging in the morning when I wake up and be in the home office, and sometimes I also play in the night. So I'm around 8 or 10 hours online every day, maybe even more. And I think I never got one of these random DCs, if I'm
Really?
not wrong. Yeah, I really think never. What means never? We talk about the last 10 days. I would say so, but I definitely did not had any one of those. I was always logged in. Definitely, it's not enough when you just press one time W or A or whatever to move a little bit. You have to do some interactions to not getting out of the game, to not getting disconnected. And I mean, for me, it's definitely don't blame the player, play the game, or blame the company. I mean, I can understand when people use Team Viewer when they just being AFK online to not logging out. I mean, what are the people expecting, that you get locked out and then you are 5 hours in the queue? I mean, yeah, what's these people also paying? And if you want to play in the evening, I mean, you know it by yourself. Who wants to wait 3 or 4 hours? So I can definitely understand when people start to log in at the office, going in their team viewer or whatever they use, and logging in, and then they know, okay, now 2 hours when I'm at home, then I can play or whatever. Yeah, I mean, definitely understandable from my point of view.
You know what?
Yeah,
That's a good
I'm-
guild
I'm in agreement.
advertisement. But like, hey, you want to join a hardcore raiding guild? Make sure you have a DeWalt drill with some tape if you want to make it to raid nights.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely on like as its own kind of added an extra layer of complications to the logistics of, getting a raid up and running. Is having to actually, deal with the queues. It's not, hey, log in like, 15, 20, 30 minutes before raid and start getting ready. It's no, you got to get on
6
and
hours
get ready.
prior.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4 hours, depending.
Yeah, crazy, huh?
All right. What was the first thing that y'all wanted to accomplish in the Wrath of the Lich King?
Get to 80.
I can
From
tell you that
a-
is my goal.
From like a guild standpoint, or from more of like a personal standpoint?
Oh, both. I'll take both.
Okay. I mean,
Well, I'll go. You go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Well, personal standpoint, yes, I jokingly say get to 80 just because of my current playtime, but I do have plans of like I definitely want us to be pushing like because we do. Bulwark runs an event weekly called Homeland Relief, where we go about. We have a channel that we watch for call-outs, and we watch the World Defense Channel to respond to areas that are being attacked by Alliance, or if somebody's calling for help with a camper or anything like that. And this could be anywhere in the world, where it's back on Kalimdor, Eastern Kingdoms, Northrend, or even in Outlands. We'll respond and go out and help people that are being camped, griefed, whatever. But the whole idea is that I want to be able to get us so that we can have units stationed in different areas. So, like a 5-man group stays in Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, or a 5-man team stays in Northrend, 5-man team stays in Outland, and we just keep patrolling throughout the whole area for the hour or two that we like to spend doing it. And we do it all, for the most part, in character as well. So it works out nicely that we show up, we kick ass, we help some people out, and we do it in the true guild fashion that we are.
I love
Sounds fun.
that.
So, what time was this again that you said?
Wednesday evenings usually is when we handle it. Just depends on when we get everybody online.
Okay. We'll have to go start a ruckus on the Alliance side. Just to
Great, you gave away his plans.
I'm not subtle about anything, honestly. Because I run alongside with Dadsky and Kush Lords a lot, and they are huge PvPers. They live for that kind of stuff. So
we've run into them quite a bit already.
So when we make a call out saying, "Hey, we could use some Kush Lord backup," we get half a raid immediately responding, and we love it because I also, the other people I love is No Mercy Mafia because they know how to throw down. They love throwing down.
Without a doubt.
So we love countering numbers with numbers if we can.
Yeah, it's fun when it's like kind of in good fun like that. Just sort of enjoying like that aspect of the game. I feel like a lot of people when it comes to World PvP take it to kind of an unhealthy degree, and it just it can go from being fun to like kind of toxic pretty quickly. So when you can get something that's kind of more in good jest like that, it makes the server a lot more enjoyable.
Oh, we've done things where like we've escorted somebody away, like they were griefing somebody, then like 4 of us come in and just beat them straight into the ground. Then we stand around in like a semicircle and kind of direct them. They start going the wrong direction, one of us stuns them and says no, and we try to motion them to point the direction to run.
I like that.
And for you, Multibox?
Yeah, for me the most important thing at the start was definitely getting quick to 80, because for me the most fun part about every new expansion is the bis gear farming or the pre-bis gear farming. When you get like literally every day 2, 3, 4 new items, because everything what you do has a big worth for you, like all the heroic dungeons, PvP quests like the arena quest, not the arena quest, the amphitheater quest in Zuldrak. Yeah, that's for me the most fun time, and everything what you do has a reason, because now I get the feeling that maybe in 2 or 3 weeks everything is more settled down. People will start to raid lock if they don't have a second character that they try to equip. So for me now it's the most fun part. Everything what you do is just fun and gives you some improvement in equip or maybe even skill if you learn something new.
I definitely agree. But that brings us into our next question. Was the changes to your class better or worse?
I like it. It's interesting for me because I went from a caster class, like using spell power and intellect, to a straight strength class. So gearing has been a bit of a hard 180 for me. Because I play prot paladin.
Yep.
So it's I like it, but it's also been like a bit of a headache to completely redefine my gear set. I'm glad I played with Rhett for a little bit while leveling in TBC, so I had some like Rhett PvP gear that I was able to throw on, and it was definitely an interesting feeling.
Yeah, the kind of the prop pally. So I take it you kind of liked the, I guess, the plate spinning aspect of prop pally in TBC, sort of like balancing between spell power and threat and a little bit of mitigation and kind of all that aspect to it.
So I was straight beef. If
I hate
you guys
beefcake.
you guys haven't encountered me yet in World PvP, but I make it a point that I will throw myself at a 40-man raid attacking a city without question. And I will time myself to see how long I stay alive in these fights. Like, all of my stuff is stacked stamina, mitigation, dodge, anything that works on like at a certain percent this goes up kind of thing. I am all about, like, I'm here to make you suffer. Even if I can't beat you, I'll make you wish you never wanted to fight me.
I
Definitely not the
I
guy you
already
wanna
want to
meet
fight you.
in PvP.
That sounds like a good challenge.
That sounds like a boss fight that you have to take.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like 3 minutes, full DPS.
The next Rex
Right?
Troy.
Yeah, that sounds like a good time.
For me, it's definitely the buffs that they gave, not only the Paladin, but the Warrior, too. Like, the Warrior tanking is like,
Rot.
now slapping, yeah.
Oh, it's insane. I ran a dungeon with a guy that was like sustaining like 8k DPS on Revenge, and I was like, dude, why am I even here? Like, you don't even need me. Like,
Pretty much solo the
I
whole
guess I'll just
dungeon.
hop in the Jansport real quick and take the carry. So, but I mean, it was ridiculous.
And free multi-boxer?
I think the changes to Rogue are just nice. I'm not a Rogue expert, I'm kind of new to it, but as far as I know, Rogue was not pretty good in TPC. Just maybe in the last phase they were decent, especially when they got the cleaves from Illidan before. But besides from that, you get AoE with Fan of Knives, so you're not useless anymore, or completely useless in AoE fights. So just good. You're in a good spot as Rogue. Single target, and also AoE, so I guess every Rogue player is pretty happy at the moment, and also, kind of the kings of the PvP. Not because they're the best of the PvP classes, but I guess one of the most fun to play, so I guess every Rogue player is at the moment happy.
Oh, yeah. They can finally raid again.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's funny you say that because my raid leader is a rogue.
Every time.
So,
So I played Paladin for most of TBC and Ret, and to be honest, I actually kind of don't really like Wrath Ret. There are some parts to it that I enjoy. I like having the cleave, but I miss seal twisting. I suppose like the dopamine hit of just seeing these huge numbers come up, and you get Wind Fury and you get your seal twisting going, and just you felt like when you hit somebody and you got like that right RNG, you felt like you were a shotgun, and
Yeah.
I missed that. And there was also like a kind of mechanical, I guess, portion to Ret that is missing in Wrath, because Wrath Ret is very much like, is your cooldown up? Press the button. You feel like you're kind of playing more whack-a-mole with your abilities than, I don't know, kind of just flexing, I guess, your mechanical skill of the class.
yeah.
But I've recently swapped over to Enhanced Shaman as my main, and I did play Enhanced Shaman in TBC, and I will say on the flip side, the Enhanced Shaman feels so good in Wrath. I am having so much fun playing Enhanced.
Really?
I mean, the rotation is very complicated. Seems to have a very high skill ceiling, I guess, is a way to put it. And you feel like you, as yourself, you're not just there to buff other people. Like, you are actually doing a lot of damage. And totem twisting, it was kind of just another way to just press more buttons in a lot of ways, like for your own personal enjoyment. I mean, not for what it does for your raid, but
The
with that
ADHD
sort of-
players loved it.
yeah. I mean, you definitely felt when you were not totem twisting versus when you were, and you're like, I feel like I should be pressing a button, because that was kind of the problem with enhance and TBC is you just really didn't have a lot of things to press, but that is totally different. And then obviously the quality of life change with all of your totems coming down at once is big.
Yeah.
Is everybody playing the spell hands at the moment? Spell hands?
So, not really. What's kind of happening with enhance right now is that you're doing a little bit of both. You're mostly still playing regular enhance, but you are in certain areas taking spell power items. So one of them would be like the Titan Steel Spellblade, because it's a 2.5 speed weapon, and it also gives you spell power. So it does let you lean in a little bit more to that spell enhance. But there is, at least from what I know, I'm not an expert in enhance, but from what I've been reading from the other big brain enhance people is that it's still kind of up in the air. It does feel like enhance and spell enhance is an area where there's going to be a lot of testing and figuring out, and I'm kind of excited for that, to sort of see where that goes.
I could see that. I've had a couple of our enhanced players say the same thing, but I've also been doing heal hants when they do 5-man dungeons as well.
Yeah.
Just dual Earth Living on your weapons and just throw a heal every time you need to.
Yeah, it's absolutely viable. Same thing with Rets healing in dungeons as well with Art of War procs.
Oh yeah.
Did that for a lot of my leveling on my Ret until basically till we got to heroics.
So going forward, what's your biggest fear about Blizzard changes to Wrath as they go? Because we can all see the blue notes. We can all see that they're doing like minor changes. Do y'all think the changes that they're doing for the whole game in general are good or bad? Because I know people love the fact that it's like, oh, it's exactly how it used to be back in the day, or do you don't mind the changes that they're doing?
I don't mind one bit. I think the way it was I think the game has always been a work in progress, and I think the only way they can make it a little better or potentially even worse is by looking at what they did back then, seeing the flaws, and making small tweaks while keeping the core of the game similar to how it was. But for the most part, I'm very happy with the changes that they've done with this.
Yeah, I gotta agree.
Same for me. I'm not a Wrath OG, to be honest, but some of my friends are, and they love the feeling. They love the small changes that Blizzard did here. I think they did a pretty good job at that part so far.
Tiniest of Traveler said the QOL improvements are amazing. Fight me.
Hi, Tiny.
The one thing
Yeah.
I know they're trying to keep classic pure for the most part, but one thing I would really love for them to do is, what would Transmog look like in Wrath of the Lich King right now with all the role playing that's going on in the server?
God, I would kill for that.
You just see warrior farmers that are just like in like ICC, and you're like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? How'd this farmer get in here?
I would love it. I would love to see Transmog brought into Wrath, because I feel like it's one of those changes that it doesn't actually hurt the gameplay itself. Sure, you're going to have your initial farmer show up and get the gear and whatnot, but I would love if they put Transmog in the game.
I don't like Transmog. I cannot even really explain why, but for me it's a little bit strange when everybody looks like a raid boss, like Lich King by himself or something like this. And this is why I also play a little bit retail at the moment, not for sure. And that's what in retail now it changed a little bit, that people try to look like a homeless, because then they look a little bit different, and all the other people, they have like all these T-sets or the best weapon or whatever. Now the people try to look like super, just like a normal level 5 character in Elwyn Forest. That's the new style of
Oh, yeah.
transmog in retail now. And yeah, I don't like transmog, but it's just a personal taste.
You know, it's interesting you bring that up because one of the, I think, biggest criticisms I've heard against transmog is that it becomes hard to really identify players based off their gear.
Yep.
That you kind of lose the identity and the importance of gear sets, and they become just numbers rather than like you see somebody running around with glaives. You know that they're glaives because there's no transmog. Or you see someone running around in like, full glad gear. You know that if you see someone in shoulders that they are definitely a high rated PvP player, you know? So you lose a little bit of that, I guess, early recognition, I suppose.
To see if
when
you're
you
gonna
look at
die or
someone.
not.
Yeah. Or just to like see like, oh, like, this person has done some accomplishment. I mean, I know back in the day, obviously, it's less doesn't really apply now, because so many people are completing their content nowadays. But back in the day, it's like you saw someone in Nax gear and you're like, holy shit, look at that guy, like he cleared Nax, right? And it's like, oh, that's crazy. So there's like a little bit of that, I think, and that's always what I've heard is for people like against T-Mog. But I do think T-Mog would be really cool because also, I mean, let's face it, a lot of these leveling sets going to 80, they're so bland looking. They all look the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
I will, because like our guild, we're holding a little competition in house of like picking a ceremonial uniform. So all of us, like everybody wears plate, will wear this set. Leather wears a set. Cloth, male. They all have we're working on a specific set for like if we show up for certain ceremonies and stuff like that. Having that as a transmog option would have been fabulous, as opposed to having to now go out, collect the armor, fabricate it, whatever we need to do to make it happen. I think it'd be fantastic for stuff like that. But I also can see the side of the recognition of with transmog or not having it, with having the, like you say, brutal gear and whatnot when it first landed in TBC. That was a big deal, and that person is not somebody you want to muck with. But I also, if you have ever seen me or even my character, I wear the Overlord's plate armor, the level 45 chainmail plate looking set. That is like, I live in that as my RP set. At the same time, I've enchanted that and put everything on it to the point where I still have 10,000 hit points, even in an RP kit, because I've actually fought people in the RP kit. So, like there's different things you can do with it, but for me as a role player, transmog would be massive addition, especially to a roleplay server. I could definitely see it as a thing of like a roleplay server option, but that's also getting into, are they going to actually make the effort on a roleplay server versus a PvE PvP server?
Yeah, I'm totally following you on that one. I'm just kind of hoping that Blizzard doesn't, as far as like the changes go, I wouldn't even be mad at them ripping the group finder that they have in retail and giving us that one instead of the one we have, with obviously like a little bit of modifications to it. But I mean, as long as things don't go more heavily into like monetization stuff, like I'm pretty okay. I'm pretty happy with the changes that they've done so far. No real complaints.
So my next question: how does your proficient's hidden stats impact your gameplay? I don't know if y'all know about the hidden stats that they added in Wrath of the Lich King. Like, for example, miners have toughness, so that means they gain 60 stamina. Or for skinners who have Master of Anatomy, which is they gain a 40 critical strike rating permanently to their stats.
Oh yeah, I forgot that got added.
Or for jewel
personally-
crafters, where you can equip 3 gems from, I guess equipping 3 gems of the same kind?
Well, you get a custom gem that you can make too.
Oh. Yeah, sorry, I was just pulling it up because I have it written down, and I was just like, I don't know. I didn't even write half of these down on the Q
So
thing.
it sounds like it's just an extension of like what they did for like enchanters. We can enchant our rings.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I'm an enchanter blacksmith, and blacksmiths already have like their weapon choices that they can do. I think it's nice that they added something, um, in terms of like for folks that are just gatherers or have characters that are just gathering. I think that's a nice bonus to them. I do like some of the other changes that have come forward as well, like the injectors give bonuses to engineers, like the health and mana injector.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Those are
I I can
nice.
I can appreciate that 100%. I don't think it's game breaking. I think it's a cool new little thing to make you feel better about picking the profession that you do. Because I know the meta is blacksmith jewel crafting, or no, engineering jewel crafting
Yep.
is the big meta right now. And I'm like, I am not a meta player at all. Like, I picked enchanting and blacksmithing because that's what my character would do.
Makes sense.
Which makes sense.
Like she would go out and farm the material, but she's too busy running the organization to have time to go do it. So she has people that do that for her.
I think definitely it's a nice gimmick with this little bonus stats that you got from like mining, for example. I will go for tailoring because of the cloak enchant. It's very nice for PvP and for sure for engineering. So I will not have any bonus things like that. But yeah, I think it's just a nice thing for the players who go for these professions. That little bit more of crit or stamina for mining. That's definitely a nice thing, I would say, yeah, for sure.
Oh, definitely. I noticed it as a tank. It's kind of nice having that extra health.
Oh, are you mining on your tank?
Yeah, I'm a engineer paladin.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
I try to race warriors all the time versus charge versus my nitro boots. So, I know they did this a while back, but we were supposed to have a podcast back then, but I kept getting sick. I've had the fever, COVID, and then just other stuff coming up. But I don't have this question on there. I know I emailed y'all or messaged y'all the questions and stuff like that. But how has the farming nerf affected y'all? If y'all are interested in like farming, like for example, like the mage farming and stuff like that, or pulling the whole dungeon and then you're like, how did I die? Because I don't know if y'all know, but they buffed everything after like 30 seconds of being pulled, and I think it's like 30 seconds to a minute of being pulled. They gain like all sorts of buffs to like one shot.
45 seconds. Well, they
Yep.
also can do a knockdown stun that does affect through Paladin Bubble. So it's
Yep.
made to stop. It's made to stop the boosters and the farmers. Like I am not a fan of boosters. Like people that would run people through dungeons. I hated it so much. And I think they're sensible changes, if you ask me. I think that they could do a I think they could do a thing like where it adjusts when you're too high of a level. That if it's a lone occupant in the dungeon, I think you could do without that. Like if you're trying to do dead mines or something like that. Like I'm a big achievement hunter, so once I get 80, I'm going to be going back and doing like dead mines, wailing caverns, stuff like that. Stuff I never actually did when leveling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you with that one. I don't. You could still do it, so it didn't really stop people necessarily.
But it just makes the process a lot slower.
Yeah, I would say though that them releasing the Joyous Journeys was a good, really, really good move on their part. Because, I mean, quite frankly, all of I guess just the way modern gaming is, the way we play the game these days, like everyone just wants to get to, max level, and there's definitely some people who like to, take more time, not do that, actually play the game, but for the majority of players, it's I just want to max level, and so boosting was the most efficient way to really spend your time to get to that goal. So with them releasing Joyous Journeys, it really it was definitely a very good change on their part. So I think it was a good move because I'm definitely with you, Tris, that having people actually play the game made it feel a lot more live. People were actually coming back. They were playing on, alts. They were running dungeons. They were doing all this stuff, and it was really nice to see. But without sort of that Joyous Journeys buff, it definitely would have been a bad time, I think, for a lot of people.
A very,
So-
very good point with the buff. I think that was an awesome idea of them. I could also not level my character from 1 to 70 before Wrath started if they would not have given me this buff without getting boosted. And yeah, the boosting is definitely, that was like a very bad thing. I mean, just think about how the chat was looking back in also in Classic, back in TPC. To be honest, nobody was doing dungeons anymore. They were just
Buying
staying
boosts.
in a dungeon
Mhm.
and giving somebody money. And I mean, that has nothing to do with playing the game.
Yeah, and then you're feeding the gold farmers, and you're
Exactly.
contributing to that system, and it's all cyclical, and it was not great. I mean, gold farmers are still going to make their money some way, somehow, so you're not really going to stop them that way, but it definitely slowed them down quite a bit.
Oh, there were times I would park in front of different dungeons and just camp, like dungeon carry boosters, and I would make them as miserable as I could because I fight through attrition.
So I mean, as a paladin in TBC, I definitely did my fair share of boosting, but it was normally for guildies and not for actually making money. But
It's okay, I'll let you defend yourself.
but a lot of it was actually just spent farming gold. And so that changed, honestly, for higher geared players. It didn't really change anything. It just made it so that we had to do one extra pull so that we weren't getting that stun. But it I don't know. I don't really feel like one way about it or the other. It's just sort of like, okay, whatever. Like, not the end of the world.
Yeah,
People found new farms.
I'm a little iffy on it because for me, I love solo farming in a dungeon, just like no boosting at all. Because so I have a level 70 and I was trying to go tailoring and enchanting, but it's so hard because I want to pull the whole dungeon. I'm just so used to pulling the whole dungeon, and I'm just like, oh shit, never mind. They have that nerf on there. I was like, damn. So it's just like a little slower than used, than like less efficient. But I mean, if it stops boosting, I'm totally okay with it. I just wish that they like if you had two people in the dungeon, then that like two people in a group or in that dungeon applies that nerf. But if it was just you doing it by yourself, then it should not be applied. If that makes sense, because that way you're not making gold from someone. Besides, if you're placing items on the auction house that you farmed for,
Mm-hmm. You're just not doing it
or
for yourself.
yeah, like if you're farming mats and stuff like that you need.
Yeah, except on that end too, boosters would be doing the same thing. They'd just basically be bot farming those
True.
dungeons. So there's really no good solution to it. Players will just always find some other way to do some farm in this dungeon or that dungeon or whatever. I mean, a lot of paladins, especially if you were higher geared, you just moved on to doing uh slave pen farms and boosts, or you did shattered halls, because you could do up to the first boss of shattered halls, like as a paladin, like solo.
Wow.
And that was also really good XP. So players will always find some way to get around whatever Blizzard does. So
Yeah.
it definitely stopped that form of it, but it just people just found out another way to do what they were doing anyways. I think that's also why, I mean, I don't know 100%, but I think that's also why they did the Karazhan nerf, because in the beta people were basically boosting in Kara because you didn't have that limitation, and it was, also giving a ton of XP. And then it was also a lot of gold. I mean, I even went in and soloed a bit of Kara myself to kind of test it out, and even without like the boosting, I could see Kara being one of the new, I guess, solo farms, especially for paladins, because you can just go in there and just solo nuke everything.
Oh yeah. I remember seeing my first bot, and it's gonna be in a YouTube video in the future. But I was making my mage series, vending machine life, and I remember encountering
That's a great name.
encountering my first ever bot, and I didn't believe it. But someone ran up to me and they're like, "Look at this poor innocent bot. I'm just camping his corpse." I was like, "Wait." I was like, "You mean just someone that's just like brain dead playing?" They're like, "No, I mean an actual bot." So we see this guy resurrect, runs over, kills another. This is like in the hinterland, so it's killing a griffin, skinning it, then moving on to another one. We kill it again, resurrects, does the exact same thing. I was like, oh my god, there's an actual program to buy. I was like, I'm either getting behind on technology by a lot, or I didn't know like any of this was going on. Like, I thought it was insane that this was an actual thing.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of ridiculous, the levels that some of the bots have gotten to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's big money in this industry, so they try everything to get more and more money. And I mean,
Huge money.
if you make more than it's only costing you $12 or whatever to get an account running for 1 month. So, and you can make hundreds of dollars just with one bot running. And if it gets permabanned, you just move on, make the next. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I get it.
That was a lot of people's issues with, them selling the character boosts. On one end you get it, you're like, oh, you want to bring your friend in, they can almost immediately play with you because they're not having to level up the whole way. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, someone can go farm, go make a rogue and pickpocket BRD, or, hack through the map in slave pens or something like that and just farm, and then okay, well, my account got banned, but I've already offloaded everything, and now I'm just gonna go boost another character and go right back to what I was doing. So in like some ways it just kind of felt like they were almost encouraging it.
Yeah. So our final question before we close or come to an end of the stream it's a fun little bonus question, but I want to hear all your opinions either in chat, comments, and from y'all three. What fun things do you want to see come back that we used to do in the old days on the old Grobulus? Like more server-wide events, like RP events, maybe something crazy like a naked run and leaving naked corpses all over the city or something like that. Halloween competitions, like Halloween's coming up. I don't know if we have any Halloween competitions coming up on Grobulus and stuff like that, like where we get Horde and Alliance together. I know we did that on St. Patrick's Day this year, which was pretty fun. Dress green or get ganked in Booty Bay.
That's fantastic. So Grobulus usually does have a couple server-wide events. Like we had Grobapalooza, but that was unfortunately during the invasion with the zombies.
Yep.
Unfortunately, some people loved it. Some people got really frustrated with it, which I can see both sides. We also, Horde side, I know we do have a Halloween festival that we do. Usually it's put up by Hand of Lordaeron. In terms of a server-wide one, I think something could be managed. We would just, now that we have the sanctuary cities in place, I think we could try to figure something out like that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to say because I haven't really been on the server that long. So in terms of what you guys, what Grob did in vanilla, I don't really have any frame of reference for.
Well, what would be something you might be curious to see? Because we're always looking for. Both sides have their own roleplay Discord channel or Discord channels as well. So I mean, you guys are more than welcome to pop into those and give your feedback to because the role players are the ones that usually host most of the events.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought the Grobpalooza was actually really cool. It just was bad timing with the,
Right.
Yeah.
like the height, the absolute height of the invasion going on. So it was like kind of hard to really, participate, I suppose, and like really get into it because there's just like so much chaos going on everywhere. But for what it was, I thought it was pretty fun. I know on the Alliance side that there's been like transmog competitions here and there. Um, Maybe like races from, one side of the continent to the other, see who wins. I mean, I honestly have no idea. Or scavenger hunts, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'm making notes of these, so
I'm also not an OG from Grobolo, so I cannot tell here what I want, what was good in the past. And I'm also not an RP guy, but I appreciated other people doing it on the server because for me that gives me a very nice feeling about the server. Also, not my name is not really RP style with multi-boxer, but it's the name of my YouTube channel and all the other things, so that's why I chose it. And I would never interrupt or disrupt any RP events that I see, and I think that's what I can say about a lot of people that came lately to the server. I think everybody is appreciating what's going on the server, even if they are not very proactive when it's coming to RP by themselves.
multi-boxer, I can absolutely come up with an RP reason of your name.
Okay, and that would be?
Yeah, I wanted to say.
Before joining up with the Alliance, you can come up with whatever generic name you want, but you were proficient boxer, and sometimes you would punch so fast and so furious it was like you're fighting multiple boxers at the same time.
There you go.
Okay, yeah.
Hey, if I have a guild member in my guild called Hoop Life because his life was saved by shooting it through the hoops of 3 swords to kill a Kultiran commander, we can make that work.
Wow.
Yes, Hoop, I know you're listening.
So
Alright.
I've always been curious about what that means exactly. Like what isn't like an actual RP name? Like what defines that against, a non-RP name?
There's so many things that can be stretched to make it work realistically.
Mhm.
This is also my personal opinion. Anything that has to do with like bussy, get fucked.
Oh my god.
I mean, things that are just like. There was a player I saw whose name was send text for cow pics or something like that. I'm like, that literally makes no sense. Like I'm good. I can't even make that work. Because usually you can do like verb, noun, or double noun. Like I have a shaman named Blood Knuckle because he prefers to fight with fist weapons. But it's like
Yeah, that makes sense.
you can make a lot. Okay, I'm just gonna do a random who and do AE, and let's see what names I pull up here.
And I'm not sure if we have enough time or if it's too controversial, but what you RP guys thinking about people like people like me, people like from the other guilds that zero care about RP. They are just here for being on a mega server, being on a balanced server, and just want to. They could be also on Benediction, to be honest, or on the. I forgot the name of the big
Fairly enough.
board server, Felina, exactly.
Yep.
So they could also be there, but they chose whatever is the reason. Acropolis, I guess, balance and PvP. That's the reason. So, what do you RP guys think about people like us? Because I see a lot of, let me say, bad comments, especially now with the big Q on Reddit or whatever. So,
I think from what I've seen, it's like it's a mixed feeling for me because I get it. People are here to enjoy themselves and to play the game. For a lot of us that have been playing Grobulus from the beginning, I mean, yes, a lot of people say that, but I can confirm with several sources that I myself have been playing here for a very long time.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like I get it; it's a fun place to be. But so long as you just respect the basic rules of a roleplay server, I had an article pulled up. Where was it? and it was about. No, go away. Bookmarks. No, I don't have it on this one. But it was basically a thing laying out by Blizzard. It was a server.
All the blue notes.
Well, not even a blue note, but like the server rules of like, there's just very basic things that like make it semi-fantasy based. Like they try not to use like 3-word names, kind of thing, is what they prefer to in these kind of situations. I mean, obviously, what was it? I just saw a name on here. Larry Big Toe. Like, okay, I can kind of make that work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to look. Oh, unfortunately, you can only pull up 50 names on your Who at a time, but there's, like I say, basically anything that has to do with, like, unnecessary discussions of anatomy, I have a hard time accepting as roleplay. I mean, yes, if you can give me your name and give me a logical roleplay reason for it, I'm okay with it. Just don't grief us, don't get in the way of our events, and don't shit on us for enjoying how we like to play our game.
Yeah,
That's really all we care.
Don't come in for Griffin while they're role-playing Teabag and then just, like, fly away.
And leave Gorge alone. Nobody messes with Gorge.
Who's Gorge?
Gorge is gorgeous. He is a Tauren warrior in the Thunderhoof clan. He is the most wholesome person you will ever meet on the server.
Can confirm. Gorge good people.
So on the do not kill list.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but Tristian, you say you can enjoy the game the same like 6 months before. It's not like the amount of people that came over for not RPing are decreasing your fun in the
Not
game.
realistically. I mean, it gets obnoxious because with the populations. So layering has made roleplay incredibly difficult because a lot of us love doing what's called walk-up roleplay, where we all use an add-on for the most part called Total Roleplay 3, or TRP 3 is what we use for the most part to know who is a role player and who doesn't have a roleplay profile. But it allows us to see if you're a role player, and we also always put in there a thing saying walk up encouraged. So meaning you can come up to them and just start talking to them, and 98% of the time we'll respond in character and begin an actual interaction. With layering, right now, I'm on layer 9 for where I'm playing right now. And when we've tried to focus everything down to layer 1 for roleplay. So when you get excessive populations with the layering, it makes it very hard for us to find each other or people that want to roleplay and understand roleplay. It just makes it more complicated to try to organize for things. And that's really my issue, is that the fact that Blizzard had to put a tool like this into place, which hurt the roleplay community, but it didn't kill it. Just made it frustrating.
Yeah.
I can agree with that. It can be frustrating sometimes.
Especially when, even for groups, like if you're suddenly layer locked and you can't layer swap, that's even more frustrating. But for the most part, no, I don't.
Sometimes you join someone's group and like you're just sitting there and you're just like, why can't I see you still?
Right, that's sometimes what'll happen. It's like your layer is literally too full to accept anybody swapping over.
Makes sense to me.
And like I say, I have no problem with the transfers realistically. I have problems with people that sit idle in the game for 6 hours at a time. I have problems with bots. And I have problems with griefers. Those are the 3 people I have problems with. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the bot, I mean, that's just, I think it's something most players can agree with that, not really happy with, but it's just kind of the reality that we're all sort of settled with.
There also is me and a couple others have actually, Dabsky from Kushlord started a Grobulus World PvP Discord in lieu of the Grobulus Discord. We're always looking for bots to camp into non-existence.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
So I'm okay with collusion if it means bettering the server economy.
You heard it here first.
But I don't want to go past our time. But this will conclude today's podcast. Thank y'all so much for joining.
Thanks for having us.
And
Thanks. Yeah.
yeah, I
Thanks
hope
for having me.
all of y'all enjoyed it. Like, it was so great having y'all. It was great meeting you, Multi-Boxer and Pick Your Poisons, and Tristan. You know I always enjoy you on the podcast.
Oh, I appreciate you having me.
But yeah, thank y'all so much, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, you guys too.
Bye.
Same. See you.
Take-
Bye bye.
Take it easy.
Are we going
How
healer?
are you doing? Oh, what's up, DJ?
Yeah, that's darkness.